I know, sorry. We'll be kicking off in the next couple of minutes. If anyone wants to grab a drink before we start, then now is your opportunity to. They'll be taken away until the break in the middle. I didn't realise it was a lobby. You're not allowed to leave drink out and help yourself to it, but apparently you're not. So please help yourselves before we kick off in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
There's alcohol. It's free.
Hold on. No.
Stop the fox. It'll block you.
No, I'm just going to move it.
With safety.
I'd rather go that way, actually.
Yeah?
Yes. Are we encouraging? Yeah, yeah.
That was everyone watching live, just in case you're thinking I was extra
One
weird.
person. One person watching live.
Evening, everybody. Wonderful to see you all here. My name's Mark. I'm part of the STEM Glasgow team, along with my colleagues here, Hannah and Alex. So we are the real-world avatars of our Bitmojis on Twitter. For some of you might recognise us that way. I'm the one with the beard. So wonderful to see you all here. I'm really looking forward to this evening. I think it's going to be great. I'll just quickly do the housekeeping. There is no fire alarm scheduled for this afternoon. If there is, the emergency exit is just there, around the corner of that wall there. You'll see it there. If anyone has any mobility issues, we just go out through the door that's that way. You'll see it there, and that will take us to the left and will take us downstairs. Shouldn't be any issues, and we gather outside on Mitchell Lane. So that's just really pleased to see everyone here. I'm really looking forward to hearing what everyone's got to say. Toilets, round the corner. That's it.
Third and second floor also.
Third and second floor also, if you really want to go and visit
just
other
making sure
toilets
people
on
know.
other floors. That's your thing, cool. But they are just round there towards where the cafe is. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything more. I'm actually going to pass it over to Alex and Hannah, who have organised most of this. So you can blame them from now on. So thanks, and I hope it's going to be really enjoyable. Honestly.
Say that for later, Lizzie. Okay,
as Mark said, thank you very much for coming along. We've got a variety of presentations, ranging from 7 minutes to 2 minutes. What's going to happen is I've also got a timer at the front for the people that will be doing the presentation, so they know. I will also have a lovely buzzer. If you would like me to prompt you at 30 seconds, I can do so, because when they're finished, we will wiki off.
You look really strict, like a second over and we'll shock you.
So if you'd like me to give you a heads up, but I will put a timer in front of you as well so you can see. Again, on live stream, so ideally stand a wee bit further back. If you'd like a microphone, although the acoustics in here are quite good, we have a microphone as well.
I think that's more or less it. The presentations will be picked by a randomizer. So just to torture the people that are presenting a wee bit more, they don't know when the next thing is going to be coming up. The only person was Donald, who's going to go first. But aside from that, it will just be a random name picker, and then you'll just be asked to come up. I'll get a presentation going, and we don't have a clicker, but it's just the arrow in the laptop here. So if you want, you can come over and just push through all.
And please feel free to tweet throughout it. I know that screen's not ideal in terms of it's quite low down, but we're using the hashtag STEM Glasgow TeachMeet 18, really long.
We're using it STEM TeachMeet 18.
Is that what we're using?
That's what we used earlier on, so that's what you use now.
It's been a long day. Or the hashtag STEM Glasgow as well, so please make sure to tag things in it as well once you're going. And Hannah's got a little, she's really excited about doing this.
I've detested I did not want to do this, but I felt like it was a good way to get started. Obviously, people are going to be getting up, and we want this to be more of a kind of casual thing. We don't want anyone to be stressed about it. Just to get everyone moving around the room just before we begin. I'm not going to take credit for this. This was actually Drew, who's we did this at his TeachMeet, so we have stolen it. So I'm now passing the blame. And it's kind of like, just to get everyone moving, it's a sort of rock, paper, scissors, like off. There are prizes at the end to be given out. So basically, all we're asking is that you find somebody in the room to play rock, paper, scissors with. And then if you win, you move on and find the winner of another pair until we have 2 left at the end. And then there will be some prizes for the winners, but it's just to get everyone moving. We're going to kick off in the next 5 minutes. So can everybody find a partner, do one round, and then move on and find the next winner?
Okay, it seems that we had 3 finalists. So this is the final. This is the final. This is the final.
Yeah. Yeah. Ready?
1, 2, 3, shit. Shit.
This is why we're winning.
This is the championship. 2, 3, shit. Well done to Grant from Cell. Right, the prizes, now we wanted you to all make an effort. So the prizes are, they have been donated by the UK Mathematics Trust, which are problems of math, books of like maths problems, junior and intermediate. So this right here is your weekend's activities. So can we have the top 3? So yes, they're come and you can grab your prize.
And you get a bag.
And you get a STEM bag, which will almost the real prize. Okay.
Thank you.
If I can donate mine, because I'm not in the teaching front
That is
line.
not a teacher, so
So you can find something you like.
yes, there you go. So yes, you can donate that to someone later on that you like. So if you would like the problem books, then please
Befriend me.
Yes, buy a drink here, but maybe bring one over. I'll find
Yeah, I know you will.
for that side. And I think we also had the posters. Okay, no, that's fine. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so we're going to get started now that you've all been up and at them. And we're going to start off with Donald Price, who's going to do our first presentation. And he's only avoiding the randomizer because he's got to shoot off somewhere, so he's been allowed on this one occasion. So, Donald, do you want to come up? And I'll just start. There we go. Okay.
Oh, yuck. You can see yourself on this thing. Hi, everyone. So as Alex said, I'm Donald. I'm Principal Teacher and Digital Leader of Learning at Moss Park Primary School. And I'm going to be talking about children leading learning and how it's challenging, or how this year has really challenged my perceptions of what that looks like. So I'm going to talk very quickly about the tech team model that we have, about how they're doing presenting, and then about what actually I think leading learning looks like. So the tech team works, we have monthly meetings. Every single month they get together in a board meeting style thing, sort of a pupil council style where they've got chairperson, etc., as they would. In that they talk about any troubleshooting issues they've been having, and then they come together and discuss what they actually want to get out of the next month. And I think that's the key part. The children choose what it is they want to learn about. So then we have weekly skills development sessions where they come together and I teach them whatever it is that they wanted to develop. I teach them. So the first thing they wanted to learn was green screening. They wanted to learn how to be Harry Potter with his invisibility cloak on, as I think every child in Glasgow at the moment is doing, looking at Twitter. So that's fine, we did that. Then we did stop motion animation. Then we looked at stop motion animation with green screen, and so it went on. It was based on what the children wanted to do. We do have Microsoft Teams. Sometimes I find that I do have to tell them what it is we're going to do in a skills development session. If, for example, we've got like Internet Safety Week or something like that coming up where the head teacher said, can you go and get the tech team to deliver an assembly or a lesson? That's fine. We've got Microsoft Teams for that. So the children, I put a blank or a template PowerPoint onto Microsoft Teams, and the children then come together online and collaboratively change it and alter it and do all of the research. We have one session only dedicated to that so that they can sit in and start it with me helping. Then they've got to go away, they've got to do it themselves, and I check it at the end. So it's completely using technology what it's for. And if you've not got Microsoft Teams for your digital leaders, I would really recommend starting a wee group and getting that going, just as online collaboration is really, really effective. So yeah, they then can, after that, they can lead workshops based on what they've done. We did a STEM week that some of these guys came to, and the children collaborate on the projects, as I said, come together, develop and deliver. So with that, with going into classes, presenting assemblies, you know what, a year ago I would have said that is children leading learning, they're presenting. I would have stopped at that. But now, having done a wee bit more time with the tech team, I'm really starting to challenge that notion. Is that really what children leading learning is? I don't know. So what I think it is now, well, sorry, first of all, when I started in Moss Park, it was only October, I went there as principal teacher. We did a digital skills audit. We looked at where the staff were, where they felt their confidence was. Most of the staff were saying some of these questions, they were saying they were at 0, they were at 1, they were at 2. They did not feel confident in a lot of the digital skills that we were teaching. Coding, for example. I mean, I think you can look around pretty much any school in Glasgow, and if you said, right, let's all teach a coding lesson, you would get kicked out the door. And that was very much the feeling that we were getting. And you know what, that stayed very close to what it was. There wasn't much movement on it. So what we have now, we have the tech team that the teachers can go to, and they come to me and say, look, I'm struggling with this. I don't know what to do here. Can I get tech team support? So if we get tech team support, if we, what that looks like is, teacher comes to me, they say, can I get support? That's fine. The children meet with the teacher. They say, what is it that you want help with? And they look at the problem with the teacher. The children take on that leadership role at that moment. Can I help you at this point? If they can, then great, they start to talk through it. If not, they come to me and say, Mr. Feist, they've asked a really, really tricky question. How do we do it? So then we have a digital skills session where we develop our own skills so that we can then go back to the teacher and say, and see how to develop it. So after that, the children then go back to the teacher and go into the class. And they can either teach the class with the teacher watching, they can team teach with the teacher, or they can just sit there and help the lesson, help the learners in the lesson. And initially there were some staff that thought, you know what, I'm not really comfortable with the idea of saying to children, I don't know how to teach this. I mean, that's quite a personal thing. But the children took it on, and the other teachers started watching what was happening, and the tech team going into classes and developing that. There's not a single teacher in the school at the moment that doesn't say, can I get tech team support for this? Even if it is just, I've got a really tricky concept I'm trying to teach the children, I could do with a couple of other bodies in the room. And that's where I'm starting to see children leading learning. Is actually children taking ownership of the learning within the school and helping to make a positive change across the school. Not just simply going into an assembly and teaching, delivering a presentation or going in and doing a lesson. That's presenting, that's an expressive art outcome. I wouldn't say that's children leading learning. What we've got, now we're starting to redo the digital skills audit, and where I was seeing 0s, 1s and 2s in staff confidence, I'm now seeing 6s, 7s and 8s. And that is simply because where there is an issue or where there is a point that they don't necessarily feel confident in teaching, they know that they can say, can I get tech team support for this? So the children leading learning, our tech team, what it's doing for us is it's empowering the children. The children have been going out to different things. They went out to Strathclyde University recently, got a huge amount out of that. They've gone out to the what was the last thing we did? National Digital Learning Week. A couple of them went out for that, and they've been going out teaching teachers from different schools, working with them. See their confidence level. I've got a wee boy in the tech team who's got some learning difficulties. Before going out to one of those events, he said to me, Mr. Feist, I really don't know if I can do this. I'm scared. He's P7. I said, well, that's okay. You don't have to come. We've got other members I could bring. He said, no, if I don't do it now, when I get to high school, I'm never going to do this. I'm not going to do this because I know I'm not going to have that confidence. And you know what? He went. He came out of it and he went, this was Strathclyde. I'm saying Tracy, who we went to work with. He said at the end of it, he said, you know what? I'm glad I did that. I was nervous at first, but I'm glad I did that because now I know that next year there's going to be teachers that know what I know, and there's kids that know what I know because I just taught teachers. And he was absolutely delighted. So his confidence is built. In fact, the whole tech team, there's not a single one of them looking at them now that I could say, I don't really think it's done anything for you. Their confidence has grown. The staff have benefited from it. And so the whole school has benefited from it. That's what I think children leading learning looks like. One more slide. Oh yeah. Twitter handles. If you're on Twitter, do give us a follow. So I've got my one a tweet from the tech team, hashtag tech team from both my one and from the Moss Park one. And I've got 2 seconds left on the clock. Done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald. Hannah's going to do the randomizer now. So it could be a 7 or a 2 minute. We've just put all your names in together. So it's entirely.
I picked one that doesn't have a sign, almost like a drum roll.
So I feel free to be.
So next up is
Paul.
Paul.
Who's just come in, and you're doing 2 minutes.
Huh?
Jokes like this.
Okay. Good.
Is it ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a magpie. I don't really create anything. I steal it if it's valuable. So this is a work of Blake. It's a great name, Blake Harvard, and he's a cognitive psychologist. And my class recently, the chemistry was right at the end of the diet. We had a master class. They've been sitting doing past papers for months. Every other subject, they're coming to me the next day and I'm thinking I need something different. So I found this guy's stuff. You know, I'm Paul Cochran. I'm Mr. Percent. Sorry, it's a long story why I get that name. Please don't ask me. So Blake came up with this idea, and the next slide makes it easier, which I don't want to go just now. This is how to interrogate a multiple choice question and get much more out of it. So if I can pass on to the next slide, which is the last slide, I'll to mention. Oh, James, it's mucked up. Right, just go into that. So what? If you just move on, sorry. Go to the next one. I'm going to go fast. Go too fast. So here is a multiple choice question from the National 5. And what Blake suggests you do is instead of saying, here's the multiple choice questions, go and answer them. How did you go on? I get 16 out of 20. Well done. Go and sit down. Let's try something else. He suggests you actually interrogate it by saying, okay, don't go back to the last form, but the last form it says, identify the correct answer. And then use one of the 6 techniques that the learning scientists suggest is very powerful for learning. Elaborate on it and tell us why it's the correct answer. And now in Scotland, it's slightly different for him. You then find there's 2 possible incorrect answers, which if you take a wrong decision through the decision tree, it's a feasible answer. Identify the 2 incorrect answers which are feasible and explain why they're incorrect, how you can get them. So in chemistry, it can be something as simple as you didn't use the mass number in the calculation, you used the atomic number. And there's usually one outlier answer which doesn't really work very, very well. Tried it in a master class. The vast majority, not all, it was a bit late today for someone to say, I've not tried this new technique. Said it was great. When they came out the exam, I had trouble with the prelim. The multiple choice was down a wee bit. A lot of them came out, we checked out, were 18, 19 out of 20. It's not all about attainment, but it is for these kids. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Paul. I'm perfect on time. Hannah, you want to spin again? And it's Laura Mackey from Glasgow, and she is doing a 2-minute presentation. I'll just give her your time. No big. Very visual.
Hi, I'm Laura Mackey, and I teach contact time science. So one of my main problems is being able to teach outcomes with stuff that you can take about and is easy to access from the internet. I reckon that there are 13 different outcomes that you can teach in the science outcomes, first and second and the early level, using a balloon. So this one is, as you can see, I'm just going to rush through it. It's about forces and understanding how you make things go at an early level. This one is about processes of the planet, understanding matter, again at early level. So you freeze a balloon, you have water in the balloon, and you have gas in the balloon. And the children get to feel the differences and understand the differences between those. First level, here we go, this is about movement and forces, and this is about just a little balloon, blow it up, and it will take it across the car. Again, this one again is at first level. This is understanding that matter has weight, and if you have an empty balloon and a full balloon, that it will fill up. Next one, that one's demonstrating sound. You put a smooth coin in it, it makes no noise. You put a nut in it, sound, and it's the vibration in the balloon. Next one, That one obviously is the balloon and the sound. That's great fun in the class. Next one at second level, we're on to that's energy transfer, potential energy, making that, did that in the class. None of these are my photographs, I have done all of these things. Next one is, that's great, reducing friction. So you can make a little hovercraft and the air comes out the balloon and they move, and it's brilliant on the tables. Static, on a balloon, natural electricity. They can just use the tap, uses the paper. I think there's one more.
You've got one more and then you're off.
The Picard soda one, everyone knows that one. So that's it. But just with a balloon, 13 outcomes.
Thank you very much, Laura. Can we have the next one, please? And I'll put up the timer. It keeps going to sleep on me. Grant?
Yeah. 7. Grant is not teacher. He's actually come from Bristol.
Bristol, yeah.
Yeah, Bristol. So look at the effort.
I was actually in Glasgow last month, though. I seem to be in Scotland. Despite my name, Grant Mackenzie, you can probably hear that I'm not from around these parts. But I do come here regularly, business and pleasure. So, well, it's loading. I think that's good, yeah? Great. Yeah, my name's Grant Mackenzie. I work with CEL. We manufacture the Robox 3D printer, but I'm also a STEM ambassador. And I really enjoy being STEM ambassador. It's actually the best part of the job, because I get to show kids in schools and businesses, but mainly teachers and students, how to use 3D technologies, specifically our 3D printer, because of course that's I'm paid to go in and promote our 3D printer. So, but this here is a more generic overview of 3D printing technology. So it's already here. I don't think I need to convince anyone that 3D technologies, whether it's 3D scanning or 3D modeling or whatever, it's already here. It's already being used. But 3D printing specifically, you may not be aware, it's actually used in all of these industries, plus more of these sectors. Some fantastic stuff that's going on there. You have, and what's really driving adoption in all these sectors is the convergence between the hobbyist end of the market and the high-end market. So when I first used the 3D printer in 2005, when I was at school, it was the high-end market that was dominating, because the hobbyist end didn't really exist at that point. So the 3D printer that we used was very expensive. Consumables, the hardware itself, very expensive. It was actually very rarely used. I was quite lucky to be able to use it, and that's what got me on this track to what I'm doing now. Now you have opportunities to go into 3D printing very cost effectively, very cheaply, not just with our machines, lots of other machines as well. I'm going to skip this video here because this is a great video, and it's showing an example of a titanium breastplate that's been made with 3D printing. Medicine is a great, yeah, so yeah, we'll skip this as well. You can look at these videos in your own time because Hannah has the link, which she'll be happy to share with you, and I'll be happy to share with you as well. So this is, I get really excited about software, because to me, 3D printing is great, yeah, and I work with CEL, we manufacture 3D printers, but actually, where does the learning happen? Is it when you're printing? Or is it when you're designing? And I think that this is where the magic takes place. The learning happens in the design when you're designing. That's where you should be putting your energy. That's where you should really be focusing. And that's really where you've got this revolution that's taking place. All these free tools, these amazing tools that are out there now, today, that didn't exist when I was at school. When I was at school, all the tools that you could use, they really, it's like you needed to go to university and study mechanical engineering to be able to get your head around. Now, all of it's free. Again, the video, I think we can skip that. But some of the benefits here, I mean, this is really for primary school kids. In East Ayrshire, every primary school in East Ayrshire has a Robox 3D printer. And they're all using Tinkercad, all of them. And in England as well, they're all using Tinkercad. So it's extremely easy, whether you're 7 years old or 70 years old. There's no commercial relationship, by the way. If you're thinking, this sounds a bit suspicious, it's free. You know, there's no commercial relationship between me or CEL or Autodesk who make the software. And I know that Hannah's been doing some great work on TikTok.
I mean, the kids have done really good work.
Well, the kids are okay. So yeah, and lots of resources as well. So, similarly, Fusion 360. Now, Fusion 360 is really the advanced stuff that you can use. I've got off the screen a little bit, that's right. So this is really advanced. This is actually really incredible, some of the stuff this can do. Again, it's free. Set up the Autodesk account, completely free. That means that kids can use this at home. So they're using it in schools, and they can go home and use it on the same account. It's cloud-based, which gives IT people a bit of a headache sometimes, but it's worth it once it's all set up. Again, great video. 3D Builder. I've seen a lot of Macs here. That's not unfortunate, it's just how it is. 3D Builder comes pre-installed on all Windows 10 computers. So that's actually every single Windows 10 computer out there will have 3D Builder on it. It's an amazing tool. I use it all the time. Again, it's completely free. Mesh Mixer, completely free. This is like a Swiss Army knife for 3D models. So if you need to fix a model or you want to do something to it, there's a great video in here, which we're not going to show, but you can see in your own time. I've really taken a lot of time to choose the videos, so if you've got some spare time, I'd advise you to go through. There's no sales stuff in there. You can just see for yourself the amazing stuff this can do. That's a prosthetic leg, actually. That's designing a part to fit onto a prosthetic leg. And then we're moving on to the hardware. So, yeah. You've got the software. That's really where and don't tell my boss this because he may not like this, but software is really where I think it's at. I think this is where the learning takes place, and this is where the real revolution is taking place. 3D printing, 3D scanning. This is where we are now, but 3D printing and 3D scanning, it's been around for a while, especially 3D printing. I mean, 3D printing is older than me as a technology, and it's basically a glue gun. So most commonly used technologies for 3D scanning. These are just top picks. Different types of technology, they're not all the same. You'll be most familiar with the hand scanners that you go around and you can scan kids and you can make busts of them and all sorts. You can pick them up for £350, these sense scanners. I know some people have had real problems with this sense scanner, but other schools have had fantastic experiences, and you can't argue with the price. I mean, it's £350. And it goes up to thousands, and there are different types of technology as well. So the types of 3D scanning technology they use in movie studios, completely different to what's being used in the classroom. It's just a different technology altogether. And the technology you see on the workman at the side of the road, 20 seconds. Okay. 3D printing. So this is what we make, sell robots, fantastic 3D printers. But Ultimaker, fantastic 3D printers as well. If I go into a school and I see a school using a 3D printer, I hope it's either ours or an Ultimaker. Then you've got the more expensive technologies from Stratasys and MakerBot, and SLA and DLP, which is a different type of technology. But that leads us on to the end here, and 0 seconds. Any questions about any of this? It's a lot of information, but please take the time to look through it. There's no sales stuff in it. It's just informative. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
And these are the printers that we're actually using in our primaries as well, because they are a safer option for smaller children, but in those secondaries, but kind of mixture. So Hannah, you can spin again.
Yes, so next again, and the next person up is Gregor.
How many minutes?
2.
Okay, people.
So I'm Gregor, I'm from Horshill Primary School in North Ayrshire, and I just wanted to talk to you very quickly about our journey with STEM. So our school is based in an area of really high deprivation. 3 years ago we were really quite far behind with our team in literacy and numeracy, and also we found out that many of our children when they left school were not going to higher education, and were actually not entering the workforce at all and leaving school with no skills or qualifications whatsoever. So we were faced with quite a big challenge about how we wanted to kind of combat that. So what we did was we decided to use STEM as a vehicle to improve everything in our school. We created a dedicated STEM base at early level, at first level, and second level. We also redeveloped our outdoor space as well. We made sure that children were timetabled every single day to be accessing STEM activities throughout their entire journey in the school curriculum. And we also wanted to make sure that children were getting opportunities to work with their peers in other classes, which had a real big impact for us socially across the school as well. Our literacy across STEM is a big focus for us. We wanted to make sure that children were accessing skills that we are teaching them in class in a new and independent context. And that's what these zones are. It's an area where children can go and apply skills in new creative ways so they can see connections with their learning. We did have HMI in at the start of January this year. We're very happy to say we've got excellence and very good from HMI. Some of the things they've said about our zone is that it's innovative, it's dynamic, it's what they want to see happening in lots of schools across the country as well. So we've been asked to basically share what we're doing, which is why I'm here today. I'm basically here to open our doors. So if you are interested in coming to see how this works in practice, please get in touch. We're only a short train journey down to Winning. I'm also presenting the Scottish Learning Festival this year, so please come along to that and see what we do in a wee bit more detail. Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more presentations and then we're going to have a little break so you can go and get some water, refreshments. Yeah, we're doing well, doing really well. The chair over there, she's over there.
Oh, you've not got a presentation, you're just
Hi everyone, I'm Michaela Williams from Knighton Secondary School. We started on the STEM journey just at the start of the new session. I'm actually just here on behalf of my colleagues who actually took this and drove it. They're away to the SEC today, taking some pupils to TEDx talks. Okay, now in our school, the reason why we went on the STEM journey is because we're thinking that we want to engage, motivate, and enthuse. I think we've done that because we started a science club, and then we had numbers exploded. Lots of kids coming because they were just playing and doing things. And then we decided, all right, we've got too many coming, so maybe we should start a girl only one. So we did that as well. When we got there, the first time we did it, we had 30 girls coming along because they wanted to do it. Because they felt something, when they were in the boys, about hiding behind and not really getting involved. But they really got on board with this. So it kind of has exploded in Knightsbridge. So it's really good that this is happening because I think, it's a good way to get our children into understanding that science is not just something we do in class. Because before in the past, we had kids going, I don't want to do science. Science is boring. What do I need science for? So now they're actually getting infused and thinking, actually, I could actually use science just outside the classroom. So we're going on the journey. We're also engaging with our primary learning community as well, trying to see if we can do transition, P4, P7s. So we're kind of on the journey and we continue to go and see how we get on. And I'm hoping that, as somebody's talking about raising attainment, eventually that's what we do. This is why we started this journey, because we want to raise attainment in science, because we're concerned that lots of kids are switched off science and think science is not useful, science is not good. We're going, science is actually the way to go. We're moving also, not just trying to focus on science, we're also going to try and focus on engineering as well. So we're trying to see if we can get children to start building robots and stuff. Now, I'm not really, into it, but I'm going to get training on it to do it. So looking forward to that. So yeah, we're on the journey, as I'm saying, and it's exciting so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And your girls, we've actually been out to Knightsbridge and we know that there's queuing up for spaces for desperate to do it, and you've also got leaders leading other classes as well, so you've got children in it. We saw them today at TEDx, they were great, yeah.
I was at one week in your girls' science club 40 turned up, something like that.
Yeah.
It's Paul.
Paul, and you're doing 7? Is that right, Hannah, 7?
Yes, 7 minutes.
Okay, got it. Right,
no, if you have it, that's fine. Hi, I'm Paul Tyler from Men's Primary School in East Renfrewshire. I feel like I'm getting crashed a little bit, but hopefully you will get something else. We're talking a little about our STEM, our science capital journey, STEM capital journey. and also about developing STEM partnerships, which is something we've really focused on at school this year. So Science Capital is a concept developed by Professor Louise Archer and her team at UCL. It's based on the Aspires report, which is a study of 10 to 14-year-olds, which found that although about 80% of 10 to 14-year-olds found science interesting and also understood that science was important, was relevant, less than 20% of them actually aspired to be scientists. And they set out this, clearly a big problem, and so they set out looking at, well, why is this and what can we do to change it? So they came up with this idea of STEM Capital. It's based around 4 kind of principles, which are kind of what you know, so children's science understanding, their knowledge and prior knowledge that they bring to science, which is very important. How you think, so children's attitudes to science, whether they see the relevance of science, whether they can recognise science around them, whether they can see the applications of science. What they do, so this is all about science consumption. Are children reading about science? Are they reading science magazines? Are they visiting a science centre? Are they engaging with Glasgow Science Festival or Edinburgh Science Festival? Are they watching science documentaries or science fiction on TV? And then the final part of it is who you know. And this can be family members, and this can be teachers, it could be STEM ambassadors who come into the school, it could be visits out of the school to go and see STEM professionals working in situ and see what they do. So what we did is we started off our journey by surveying our parents and our pupils. And our parents were asked about 15 or 16 questions based on the 4 principles that I've just shown you. And what we found is that there was a percentage that, a reasonable percentage that had high science capital, a good block in the middle, and then a smaller block with low science capital and no science capital. And a similar story with our pupils. And science capital of pupils is very much linked to families, especially in primary schools. We are slightly above the national average. National average is that about 5% of children have a high science capital. So we found our pupils were slightly high. This gave us a good starting point of, well, where can we go on this journey? How are we going to improve this? So what we've done is we've started to develop a series of resources in the school that are going to help teachers to use the science capital approach to improve engagement in science, but also to improve children's understanding of science in the world, how important science is around them, how important science is in careers. So we've created a teacher's handbook, which has got lots and lots of practical information. One of the things that the team at UCL have done is their resources are very much secondary based. And so we've taken their approach and we've looked at how we can adapt it for a primary school setting. And one of the things that they found in secondary schools is that teachers, science teachers especially, see science wherever they go. They see the science in things. They can watch somebody skiing and they'll see the science in it. They can watch somebody trampolining and they'll see the science in it. And what we found is that most primary school teachers don't think like that. Okay? And so one of the things that we've had to look at is making explicit links for primary school teachers and saying, when you're teaching this topic, these are the real life applications of it. This is where this science is used in real life. And here are the people who might use it. Here are the careers that might use it. So we've changed our planners this year, and we're in the process of rewriting all of our planners from early through to second level. And one of the big changes is the addition of this science capital box in our planners. And what we're looking at with this is, as I say, explicitly making these real life links, these career links, and also these home learning links, and looking to bring families in to the science that the children are learning. So when they go home, they maybe can take home an activity and actually do it at home. And one of these here, the one with the touch sensitivity map, I did that with our primary 6 children recently, and we've got up a database of nearly 600 people's sensitivity maps. We've got a big database, and then we can search that to see if, how does your sensitivity change with age? Okay, is it different in men and women? and things like that. So it was a really interesting way of taking it a bit wider. Some of the other resources that we've produced, so this is a STEM career resource that we've been working on. It contains, I think it's 68 different STEM careers, and we have this displayed in the school. But this is a free resource. Anyone can get hold of it. If you email me or get in touch on Twitter, I will email it out to you. These are topical science updates, which I've now been producing, I think, since 2014. And again, it's about making science real for children. It's about taking science in the news, real life contexts, and giving teachers a tool to explore those in class. So each month it takes three or four stories, and it gives links to find out more about those stories. And these are shared again via email and social media with thousands now of schools across the world. One of the things we created we ran this year was our STEM fortnight, and the key to that was lots and lots of visitors. We had over 40 visitors came in and helped us build partnerships. Okay, I'm speeding up a bit there. Our STEM showcase was part of that, which was a big evening event. We invited parents and families to come in for that, and that helped to spread it to families. Okay. So our partnerships this year, we've built nearly 100 partnerships with different industries and individuals and universities, and this has really been key to the success of our STEM program this year. This one I'll skip on. If anyone's interested in this, please come see me later. That's me. Thank you very much for having
me. Thank you very much, Paul. I think we've got time for determine what it is. Yeah.
I've said I looked at this presentation in the segment and I was a wee bit worried about the length. Everyone's done enough.
That's what, yeah.
Oh God.
That's the hell. That's the hell.
Right. If you've seen me before, I've probably ranted about this, but this is a slightly more considered thing. This is one of the e-zeros for topical science, which I think sometimes is done a bit of a disservice. If you search Google for Scottish scientists, if you want to do that, Google Scottish scientists, you get this lot, and then you get this lot, and I'm not sure, they're all old, they're all dead, they're all white, and they're all guys, and there's something really missing. So did science stop in the 1950s? I don't think it did. There's still loads of it happening. There don't seem to be any young people, and I teach young people, we all teach young people, and they should be doing science. They should be doing real proper science, and they should be doing the real proper science that real proper scientists, young ones, are doing today. Not just young ones. There are lots and lots of women who do science, and they're totally underrepresented. There are lots of scientists from overseas working in Scotland now on really important research, and this is where they work. I mean, all over the place. You don't have to do much searching to find out where these people should be. So if you want to find out about it, I think the next slide, you just Google universities, and there's lots of them, and then you go looking a little bit deeper to find out what research is happening now. So you go to the university website. This is SUERC, which is the Scottish Universities Environmental Research Group. Lots of universities work in collaboration with other universities. There are environmental projects, there are physics projects, there are medical projects, there's life sciences alliances, and every single university department in Scotland is involved in real, up-to-date research happening now with loads of people from diverse backgrounds. Edinburgh University, every single university has a research page on its website. So if you want the kids to find out what's happening with stuff in science now in Scotland, with real live, not old dead white guys, then it gets a bit stocky. You go to the staff registers. You find people who are listed as researchers. You don't go for the top. Ian Wilmot is not going to answer an email from a 13-year-old, but people in Ian Wilmot's team might. People in Peter Higgs's team have answered emails from my kids. So you find them, you click on their names, you get their details, and then you have to think, what the hell are we going to do when we get in touch with these people? Because they're going to think this is weird. So what do we ask? So as a literacy task, I sat my kids down and said, right, we're going to get in touch with these people, and they're like, going to do what? We need to ask them some questions. So what are we going to ask them? So when you get beyond, what's your favourite flavour of ice cream? What team do you support? Which is a nice Western Scotland one. Then you get on to useful, non-trivial questions worth asking. So just rattle through them. You get things like this. Have I sent you another one? Yeah. So what is your research? Why is it important? What does your daily work involve? We'll just keep going through it. How did you become? What is it that got you where you are? And this one was one that I thought was really important because kids do not see how being a 12-year-old, and I teach at Ardrossan, it's quite far removed from Glasgow University. They don't see that they could be there doing that stuff. What advice do they get from these people to how they can be there? That can be what they become. So this is Dr. Victoria J. Martin. She works in particle physics at Edinburgh University, and her mum went to my school. And that was total fluke. I'd never heard of Victoria, but we got some kids to draft an email. We sent the same email saying, I'm an S2 pupil in Ardrossan Academy. We're finding out about Scottish scientists. Our teacher has asked us to email some scientists and ask these questions. Please, could you copy my teacher into your reply? Really important. And Victoria got back to us and told us the answer to all her questions. She first of all told us she was very pleased to be contacted by her mum's old school, and then answered all our questions. Alison Pease, I think is from Dundee. I think is a computer scientist that does AI stuff. Both of these, and I'm happy to share the PowerPoint presentation with anybody. They link to Sway presentations that the kids who did this made through Globe. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I blogged some stuff. That was a shortened link to this blog post, which is ancient now, but I try to do this every year. The end up for the first year that I did it was Sway's. The end up this year was just to get kids to talk about what they'd found out. We had a 2,000-word response from an agricultural scientist doing research who was just amazed that anybody was interested in what they might do for a living and just wanted to tell us. And I've been to Ardrossan, I went on the ferry to Aaron, it was lovely. Why are you asking me these questions? It was fantastic. And for the kids to be able to ask these questions and to get a response from somebody who's delighted that a school kid is interested, it's just a really, really valuable experience. And uncharacteristically, I'm done with a minute to go.
Thank you very much, Drew. I had the pleasure of visiting your school along with Education Scotland. When was it? Before Christmas? And they talk about their DYW links as well and how science was going to be great. One more, and then, yep, great. Nicola.
Here, everybody else is presenting, I'm afraid you'll have to wait a wee bit longer, so we are waiting for this. We'll do the titles.
It's 2 minutes, yeah.
Just a quick introduction. My name is Nicola. I'm a P1 teacher at Primary School in Livingston, West Lothian. I am science leader in school. We are working towards our PSQM outreach more just now at the moment, hence why I'm here trying to outreach. But before we started our PSQM, we started a CERC cohort, a primary cohort a couple of years ago. And as part of the environment cohort cluster, we were trying to increase the confidence of the teachers teaching practical science in classrooms. We did a range of questionnaires with teachers, trying to see what the impact is and where their confidence maybe wasn't as strong in some areas than others. From this, we created, with our Adina Trust, a cluster resource box for all the schools in the clusters, about 7 schools, so that they could use, I'm moving over because I'm not still for different activities, different science topics. So the science boxes that we have is science of CO2 emissions, electricity, microscopes, forces, renewable energy, separation, filtration, magnets, electric atoms, keyboards, and heads. As you know, trying to find resources or trying to find things to teach for that particular topic can be quite tricky, so we thought that the best way to do it was we pulled all our fund money together. We created the boxes, and each box has all the equipment that you need, along with lesson plans, activities, PowerPoints, risk assessments, everything that's there, and a little tick sheet to make sure that all your equipment's in there as well. So it's easy for a teacher to book it in, pick it up, and then you can go along, play with it, and then you can teach it with the children. And we found it really good. We've actually had a parent in, a food scientist, come in and she actually used the microscopes and petri dishes and things with a primary 3 class. So we find it's been really useful. That's
Thank you very much. We've been a really nice varied range of presentations so far, so thank you very much to everyone that's already presented. Those of you that haven't yet, we've got to wait a wee bit longer. However, there are some refreshments and some appetizers being served, so please go and help yourself and make sure to link up with people that you maybe heard something good about and chat about it.
Chance to steal some stuff from other people or put your own stuff on the side and save yourself some food and drinks. I'm saying it. And we'll come back in about 15 minutes or so. That's okay. Congratulations.
On that, it's a bit hard.
I can just push it up here. It's just not sweet. Is that what you want?
I think it may be faster.
Okay then, we are just going to make a start. Because it looks like the sun has kind of come out, so you can actually get home and enjoy the sunshine.
No, right, I'll pick a name on the randomizer. So we've got still quite a few presentations to go. So don't forget that if you want, Alex is here with the buzzer.
I can give you a buzzer.
Okay. Okay,
I've
for
got a variety of
morning.
sounds
Okay.
as well.
No, we're just using that one. The other one's okay. Okay, but again, if you'd like that, just give Alex a wee shout. Aside from that, we'll just kind of get started.
And if anyone would like a microphone when they get up and speak, just please let me know. I've got it under my chair. So up first, second half, we have Paul. Paul, you're 7, aren't you? 7 minutes, yeah. Excellent.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm currently acting at secondary school. Since August, we introduced an SD STEM core period for the young people within our school. We realised that some of the young people who were going through the broad general education and then moving into picking their options for third year, they were risking the opportunity that they weren't going to get all the E's and O's if they didn't choose particular subjects. Although they all have to pick a science, which is great, and we do have a strong uptake in science, they weren't necessarily picking up things like techie or some of the other options that are available to them. So we introduced an SD STEM core period. And we ran it initially in August for, I think it was for the first 10-week rotation. And it really wasn't very good. I know that's probably not where you're supposed to stand up in front of a room full of colleagues and tell them, but it wasn't. And we know that because we asked young people themselves and they told us it wasn't very good. And we were coming in first thing on a Monday morning and then we've been left a bit short-changed. So we stepped away, we took their feedback and we looked to redesign the whole rotation, particularly the science rotation initially. And at the moment we are working as a school towards becoming a rights respecting school, which I'm sure other colleagues will be doing themselves. And we kind of look to build not only our STEM core period around some of the rights within the charter, but also around our school motto, which is Spero Meliora, which is something that over the course of this year we've had a big push on within the school and been quite heavily involved in. And if we just jump to the next slide.
I hope for better things.
I hope for better things. I hope for better things. I hope for better things.
I hope for better things.
I hope for better things. I hope for better things. I hope for better things. I hope for better things.
These guys should have taken Hannah's advice and asked for a microphone, I think. For those that don't know, the guy in the screen just there is a guy called Doug Allen. And Doug, along with Mark Beaumont and Neil Doyle, who also appeared in the room, have been kind of part of that push to promote the school motto within the schools. As you probably became aware of fairly quickly, Spero Meliora means I hope for better things. And a bit like I think it's Drew alluded to earlier on, we've kind of taken the stance that if you go and ask people for help and you actually contact people, they like to help. People want to be involved in education. They want to help us, whether it's modern day scientists or whether it's people, from maybe higher up the kind of celebrity rankings, if you want. So
As I said, we've introduced this STEM core PD and we've built it around not just the rights, respect and stuff, but generally around our vision and values. And we'll maybe keep firing through these. So the science rotation itself is a 10-week rotation, and we're very much focused on climate change and also onto mobile phones. Okay, it's not just in our classrooms; it's in here. We are all addicted to our mobile phones. Okay, but we wanted to look at it again from a rights respecting point of view, and how using technology like mobile phones can be so important in changing the outcome for people all around the planet, how it allows people access to education and the sort of science and the engineering that really needs to go into third world countries to make that a possibility. And as I said, the rotation itself has been completely rewritten based on people's feedback. So the kind of rights in terms of the first part of climate change has been the right to life, survival and development, Article 6, and right to the best possible health. And we've really taken the feedback from the young people and what they were interested in, and we've looked to redesign the course around it. So we're hitting sciences and those, we're hitting maths and those, and as I said, we're looking at how that affects it in terms of the climate change. Now, one of the other journeys that our school is on at the moment is not just the Dylan Williams stuff, but we're also on a journey towards the tapestry and making things visible. And I'm sure anybody that's within the kind of Glasgow area will they may well be involved with that as well. So we've tried to really incorporate some of these principles into the course as it's been written from the beginning. So we're using things like puzzle explore, zoom in, stepping inside, circle of viewpoints, headlights, and compass points. Now, for those that the terminology may be unfamiliar, you probably know these things just by other names. I'm not convinced that all of them are new revelations, and they're just being redesigned through the tapestry thing. So zoom in. This is just one example from one of the topics that we do as part of the climate change thing, and asking people to think about what they're looking at down in the picture. Does anybody fancy having a guess at what's in the picture? Stone, desert maybe, so it's maybe something to do with desert and water, so we go again. Still convinced?
An elephant.
Maybe an elephant, could be an elephant, but not happening. And so keep going, you gradually get to the picture to this point and you start to look at the picture and what do you see?
Some animals.
Some animals, and then maybe you start to think about how the animals are affected by the lack of water, and now what do you see? I see, ruined it.
Sorry.
we've done a couple of rotations now, with 3 different classes in every rotation, and generally so far we get to the very last point in this until we actually figure out that actually the picture is all about a person. It's actually about a young person. So if he's in food, we get to a young person. The whole point about the topic is that because not all of these young people necessarily have a big passion for science, we're trying to humanise the topic for them. So it's taken from a different humanising point. You can't really talk about climate change without challenging views, so stepping inside and looking at it from different views, that's enough for Donald Trump. And the next steps, we're kind of linking it to an XQA award, hopefully. We've got an expedition team going to Explore and Galapagos, and we're hoping that they'll now become the STEM ambassadors to work with primary schools. So if you are from a primary and you're hoping to, and you'd be interested in having some of our young people come and talk to you about these things, we're actively seeking opportunities, and we're hoping STEM Glasgow can help fix us up with some of that later. And we are, as I said, the Scottish Learning Festival, they will come and give some awards. Thank you very much.
Apologies to Paul for saying it first. Yeah, we went to the Doug Allen talk and it was brilliant, and it was a really good way to kind of fundraise as well. It was also a really, really interesting talk. And if people don't really know who Doug Allen is, he's the cameraman that does all the code stuff for like the Planet Earth series and Frozen Planet and everything else. So it's a pretty big deal.
I feel like there's a lot of celebrity name drops there in that presentation.
And apologies, we did check this out, so it's had a nice talk as well. So next up, we've got how many minutes? Yep. How many minutes of two?
Excellent.
So I do. Okay, you're good to go.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Ross. I'm Managing Director and an engineer for this company, Infinity Robotics. What we do is we go out to schools, we work with schools, after school clubs and commercial partners, and we engage with them in STEM and get people inspired in STEM subjects. So I just wanted to start with a quote from the great man Elon Musk, who said that engineering is the closest thing to magic that exists in this world. That is the heart of our business. So what we do is we work with, like I said, with commercial partners, after-school clubs, and schools, and we provide the mission to make technology STEM subjects accessible, fun, and engaging for everyone through creativity. And so far, we've done an amazing job with that, with no less than a 4-star overall satisfaction rating. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was 3 of the principles which have led to our success, which is getting creative, make it multidisciplinary, and bring in the wow factor, and calling in the experts. So the first one, getting creative. So this one actually has already been talked a little bit about by Grant. Some of you who spoke to me recognise this. This is Tinkercad. This is a program we do which is called If You Can Dream It, You Can Create It, where kids run through a very simple program with us to learn how to use Tinkercad, then afterwards it's up to them. They can create whatever it is they want, really let their imagination creativity run free. We then take them right through a full manufacturing process, from their design, from their 3D model design, we put it into a slicer software, which is for 3D printing. We 3D print it for them to keep. And then for them to keep. So they see a full manufacturing process and they get a lot of creativity. And the results have been great. So here's 3 of my favourite ones so far. So skeletons and some robots. Very cool. The second ideology that we have is making it multidisciplinary and bringing in the wow factor. So working with schools, what I've noticed a lot is that science is taught in one area, music, arts, all taught in another area. But actually, they're not different. They're the same. You can combine the two. So we all know the ominous theme tune from Darth Vader. This is our robot, which has been programmed to play the Imperial March using just the droid motor sounds. Really, really cool. And if you think that's very, very difficult, actually it's not. We have 5-year-olds who can do it in 2 hours. So it's very simple. The second part of that is calling in the experts. So you guys are all fantastic teachers, and there's some fantastic engineers and scientists out there. If you come together, and certainly, no doubt, you can blow kids' minds. So this is something that's actually already been talked about by one of you guys talking about scientific capital and getting to know the right people. So out there are 6,500 registered engineering enterprises with 5.7 million employees, and they grow by 7% every single year. Somebody talked about talking to universities and get in touch with them that way, but actually I have a quicker way. It's going through LinkedIn, and then you can get in touch with anyone from industry, academia, etc. And they are certain to love to come and talk to you because God knows their families are there to listen to them. So, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Well done. We like that. Who do we have up next?
Claire? We actually does not have a presentation, but it's going to be it's 2 minutes, 60 minutes.
Okay. Just when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Claire Jack. I'm from Falkirk High School. I'm a maths teacher there. So I said I would talk about taking Chig outdoors. I get asked a lot by pupils, when are we ever going to use this? And trigonometry is one of the things that they ask me with that. So we actually go outside and we use these devices that I've brought with me. They are homemade. Some of the pupils did help me to make these ones in particular. These are fluorometers, and they're used to measure your angle of inclination, elevation. So they work in pairs. They look through the straw and they measure the angle up to the top of the building. We've got a canopy outside, trees outside. They measure lots of different angles of elevation. They measure how far away from the different things they are as well. And then they use that to create a right angle triangle. And from there they can then use the trigonometry lessons that they've already had to work out the heights of the building and the heights of the trees and things like that, so they can see and practice where the trigonometry and software is used, because it is used for finding out things like that, maybe not buildings, but mountains and things like that, and distances to planets and stuff. So they find that really quite engaging and really interesting and actually using it in a real context. So
Yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much, Claire. Hannah, do you want to spin?
It's actually quite nice. Normally they STEM, it's kind of like they actually have a couple of maths talks tonight. Next up is
Hold on,
you
mean pause it again?
Extra punishment. Babies!
Okay.
Hello, my name is Louise McGinley and I'm a primary 7 teacher from Dalmarnock Primary in the East End of Glasgow. I'm one of Glasgow's STEM leaders, so I've been working with Alex and Hannah to develop STEM in the school that I work in. So I've done a number of different things, but the one that I'm most scared of is coding, and that's why I've chosen to talk about it today, because if I can do it, absolutely anyone can do it. It's been that easy. That's how I felt at the start of the year when we talked about coding, and I missed the coding session that we did, so I felt even worse about it after that. So I'm just going to talk through how I sort of started with coding and then what I've done recently in class. I started off with Scratch initially. I don't know if everybody's aware. It's on the MIT website. It's free to use, and you just drop in little blobs of pre-programmed things. They're nice and colourful. The kids find it really easy to use. So that's how I started, and because I knew very little about it, but some of my children in my class knew a lot about it because they go to a Coder Dojo class in Bridgeton. So I started off with them, and we downloaded these little help cards from the MIT website, which are nice and colourful as well, and they just break down one little tiny task. So the kids just took a card at random and they did the one tiny task, and it might have just been putting a finger up and getting it to step forward, or putting a letter up and getting it to spin round. And then once they had worked through all the cards independently, they then could just do whatever they wanted, and they could use their own creativity to make anything. Okay, and I used the children who were my sort of local experts to go around and manage the children in the ICT suite. So from that, I then managed to get these microbits from Alex. So these are on loan just now. Recently, I don't have a stash. From STEM Glasgow. So I've borrowed them from STEM Glasgow. I think they are available for Glasgow from DSS to borrow. They look super scary, but they're really not at all. I was definitely a bit when I got them. But they're absolutely fine. This just, you don't need to know really all of this, but there's just different parts of the microbits. So there's like a little processor, there's a little temperature gauge, there's a bit where a battery can connect in so that you can use them away from the computer. There's a wee, I can't remember what it's called, Hannah, but the thing that tells if it's moving. Something. No, I can't remember. But it's got one of them. It's got lots of little bits. Does somebody know? Is it there? It's cellular. And it's got a compass. So if we move on, I'll show you how I've actually used it in the classroom. So this was Sean Hill, who is a YouTuber who I found, and he is excellent at explaining how to use microbits. He's only got 3 tutorials, but they're enough to get you started. So with my microbit coding club, we just watched the first tutorial together, because it's not about me teaching them something, because I don't know everything about this. And I think as teachers, we just go, I'm not doing it then if I don't know everything about it and I can't control every aspect of it. So for me, it's about giving up the control and saying, well, let's find out about this together. So we watched the first YouTube video, and he gave me tasks to do at the end of it, which we did over lunchtime. And then for the next couple of weeks at the club, we then just did his next tutorial and then his next one. Once we did that, we then used the Microbit website, which is super easy to use and really simple to navigate. So this is a bit about the Microbit. So really simple, you can get information what it is, how to use it, what to do. Next page, Hannah. This is about how you can actually code. This is just clicking on the Let's Code bit at the top. There's 2 different options for coding. There's the JavaScript, which looks quite like Scratch. So it's quite user-friendly, nice and colourful, and if kids have used Scratch before, then this is super easy for them to pick up. The next bit is Python, and that's the one that kind of scares me a wee bit, because the kids have got to type it in, and if they get 1 dot or 1 space not in the right bit, then it doesn't work. So that's been a little bit trickier for us. However, when we've had problems with it, we've just kind of all got together and said, let's figure it out, let's see where the mistake is. And the microbit actually tells you there's a fault on line 11 of your code, so it does help you out. This is the last slide. So this is my coding club. This is on Twitter. So this is one of my kids who does go to the Coder Dojo class, and he has led the learning within the coding club that we do. For example, yeah, it's the last one here, sorry. For example, this week they but it's got 2 wee buttons on it. So we did, if one button is pressed, it makes a wee triangle. Press the other button, it makes another wee triangle. Press the 2 buttons, the triangles make a wee square. So that's what we were actually learning to do. But one boy then figured out, well, if I turn it upside down, it can say I'm dizzy. So he got it to say, if you turn it upside down, the display changes to I'm dizzy, and if you shook it, it said ow. But really it's just been about teaching them a tiny little bit and then just letting them go nuts. So that's coding, and please give it a go. If I can do it, absolutely anybody can. It's not as bad as it looks.
So about 2 minutes late, it's just my questions. So.
Thank you very much, Louise. And I think you're probably quite a nice fact that lots of children in your area are going to those clubs as well. But it's nice to see that teachers are going to learn from them too, because I had to do that with scratch. So up next, Lizzie, maths. Wait a minute, wait, so stop. It's a good look for everybody, I feel. Oh, I'll give you 3 minutes for some reason.
Excellent.
Okay, done.
That's
it. You're good.
Okay, so I'm Lizzie and I teach at Hillhead Primary School in the West End, and I'm going to take the M from STEM and talk a little bit about maths. So number talks are something that I've been kind of piloting across my stage of teaching primary 4. And I noticed that we were quite lucky, kids were quite enthused about science and technology and maybe a bit less confident in math. So I wanted to kind of boost their confidence, boost their esteem. And I started going to the number talk CPDs just to learn a little more about them. And basically, so basically it's just improving the confidence and fluency in math for children. And then also in the staff in our schools. So they sometimes think, oh no, I can't teach them that because I'm not confident in it myself. And I think that just having these CPDs, having the kind of chats with your colleagues across your stages, across your departments, help, just increase staff confidence as well. So I got this book, which is in the next one. My school very kindly invested in it for me since it's quite expensive. I think it's around £60. And it literally gives you these number talks, and they take you through a stage where you can choose, whatever one you want, and you're literally just talking about numbers with kids. It's as easy as just talking about it, and it's about how they do it, and it's all about, what's the answer. You don't just want them to say, okay, it's 5. You want them to say, how did you get it? And then eventually you want the children to lead it for you. So by kind of leading it by myself with a smaller group of kids, and they can then take it on to another group of kids themselves. So now the children in my class and the other 2 primary 4s actually lead their own number talks, and they have a rota every week, and they pick a topic, pick whatever they want. They take is between 5 and 15 minutes. Between 5 and 15 minutes, and they literally just talk about numbers. How did they get to that problem? Why did you do that? If they do it differently, can you show me? Get them up on the board, and then get them talking about it, really explaining it. And it's all about the kind of metacognition, which we're promoting in our school as well. So it's always kind of how are we learning, talking about how we're learning, and just getting them really confident with the language and math. Oh God, about like 2 seconds. Okay, so there was a nice wee quote at the end that you could put up, which is just the last. So just flip the world to the last. No, it was like it was at the end of the talk. What does it matter?
We'll give Lizzie a break because she did do this presentation for one of our STEM Leaders events, so she did have more.
She genuinely managed. I just got 3 slides last night.
And she was rapid as well.
Sorry. I was from top here, so if you want anything, just let me know.
Christina?
2 minutes.
Do you want me to hold everything? I can be as an assistant.
So this is the same as you were saying, that I kind of pinched up from different places to put this together. This is all about teaching space. So the kids get super excited when they learn about space, but the problem is that none of them they've quite figured out they're not going to get to do any practical because we teach during the day. So how can we get around that instead? So if you look at the benchmarks of the experience and outcomes of the whatever, there's loads and loads of stuff covering space. But what I found, or what I hope anyway, is that this little practical has covered just about from second level SEN right up to National 5 and a little bit of advanced higher, all by using the same. So early on, kids learn about day and night and all that.
But what this project is, it's taken from the Edinburgh Royal Observatory. I definitely did not make this. If you go online, you can access all these sheets and it tells them how far apart everything is. Now, from a really early level, kids need to be able to know about the different things in the solar system. Where are they? So my first year class made this. They got some plasticine and they learned about different planets, and that was really simple. Moving on to the next bit, we can do the exact same thing with a different set of different solar systems, not our own. So then we're going to look for exoplanets, and that's become a little bit harder. But at the same time, we've got a bit of maths going on here, because they have to be able to plot the distances between each of them. And it's really easy to make it harder just by selecting different solar systems where they have to figure out a ratio is not going to fit in straight away. And taking it up on to National 4 then, looking for life elsewhere, you can bring in stuff that we do in science anyway. How can you test for oxygen? How can you check for different things that life would need? National 5, same thing again, but this time you find the differences with light years. And then finally, for advanced arguments, the star that they're given, that they plot it all around, is something that the advanced are going to take off. And they plot it into this thing here called the Hertzsprung Russell diagram. So all they do is they have to figure out from the brightness, from the temperature, where it goes on the Hertzsprung Russell diagram, and then they can use that for their advanced argument. So, thumbs up.
Thank you, Christina.
I really glad you didn't ask any questions. They're like, we said this
we have so next is Toby.
Stop. 2 minutes. My name's Toby. I work for
Yes,
I know. I'm trying to get in as much as possible. So I work for the John Muir Trust, and I help look after this thing, the John Muir Award. But I'm not going to talk about the John Muir Award just now. I'm going to tell you a story. You up for a story? Yes. Okay. Great. So I don't know if we got some slides, but around about 2007, the Junior Online Oxford Dictionary changed. So new words come in and old words go out, and it's all about children's usage of words. And somebody spotted that some of these words were dandelion and acorn and magpie and bramble and bluebell. And so there was a bit of a campaign, and people sort of scratched their chins about it. And then folk came together, and last year there was a chap called Robert McFarlane. I don't know if people are aware of Robert McFarlane. He's pretty good with words. And an artist called Jackie Morris came together, and they wanted to do something about it. And they created this book called The Lost Words. Has anybody come across this book, The Lost Words, at all? No, I'm just going to, yes, a few of you have. Good, good. Just going to read you the introduction. Once upon a time, words began to vanish from the language of our children. They disappeared so quietly that at first almost no one noticed, fading away like water on stone. The words were those that children used to name the natural world around them. Acorn, adder, bluebell, bramble, conker, gone. Fern, heather, kingfisher, otter, raven, willow, wren, all of them gone. The words were becoming lost, no longer vivid in children's voices, no longer alive in their stories. And it goes on to explain that this is a beautiful book that aims to enchant back to life these lost words. And it does it very carefully. So this is the word heather, and the first double-page spread, you've got to find the word heather. Then there's this wonderful spell. It's an acrostic spell, or poem, if you like, to bring this word back to life. And then there's this wonderful artistic creation that celebrates that word. Now, the reason why, it's not all bad news. This has really caught the imagination. And there was a fantastic lady that created a crowdfunder that has secured a book, the Lost Words book, for every school in Scotland. And in Glasgow, we're working with Glasgow City Council and the Glasgow Science Centre to think about the best ways in which we can get these books out to schools. The best possible way to get this book out to schools. And already we're seeing from Lochimba to Kilmarnock, people are really engaging with this and and finding its great value. But there's a couple of resources. I don't know if I've got those yet. There's a
15 seconds.
15 seconds. So we've got a free resource guide, which I can tweet on the hashtag. There's some posters online as well that you can have a look at. And we're developing a couple of twilight sessions as well. And there will be two of them. One's we're still working out, but 2 sessions will go up on the CPD Hub. Is that right, Mark? Yes. So check out the Lost Words, have a look online, and get behind the movement. It's good. Okay, thank you.
And also because we've seen inside the book, and the book is beautiful. So even for like early years primary and even some secondary classes, it's a really, really stunning book. So I suggest if you haven't had a look at it already, Toby will have more than happy to share it with you.
Yes.
Next up, Frank, to Hannah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hi, I'm Frank. I work in the FE sector and I was a Java programmer. I worked in secondary schools and yes, see, a lot of things are coming up here because I used to teach higher computing and all these things come up like passing the difference. But these are all kind of technical terms with students. And when I went to talk to my apprentices, when I've moved to come to talk to school, they said, what would you have changed at school? Or what do you think would have been good to know at school? And once they get past the fact that they said that we really don't want to see Visual Basic ever again because they don't use it in the industry, they basically asked about theories. The good things they learned at school was things like the communication, the soft skills. I see a lot of people have mentioned the word creativity. That's the things that they brought into being apprentices. So they're basically coming from school into apprentices. They get all this lovely software development things like mob programming and some of you recognise. But really what it's down to is like designing and creating code, being creative. Being apprentices, you might have noticed there's different types of apprenticeships you can get now, foundation, modern, they're all run by this graduate apprenticeships you probably see run by SDS, and they get jobs as developers. And the good news is all the stuff that you're teaching the kids is actually working, because I have, the last 5 years, I've took through around about 70 apprentices from school into employment. I've never seen it so good in technology. In fact, just this week, 5 of my HND students have just gone straight into work. They're not going to university. Usually we take our HND students go to university. So developers, apprentices, students, technology needs them all. And it's not about technology, but most importantly, it's about creativity. And I'm so glad that most of the presentations mention creativity, because that's what the employers want, and that's what they need. It's great to see so many things happening in schools.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. I think we've got 2 minutes left. Yes.
Have I missed anybody? No,
You've tried to get impromptu ones.
Hi everybody, my name is Lisa McGee. I teach at Gavin Primary in Weston Martin. I have been there for 7 years, and for the past 3 years it's been my responsibility to lead STEM, particularly on the science, in conjunction with some of my other colleagues. As I say, I've been doing that for 3 years, and that's involved a variety of responsibilities that I'll come on to in a second. I work quite closely with Sharon Smith, who I think Hannah knows. She's the STEM Development Officer for the Council, who I believe is funded by the Wood Foundation as part of the RAISE programme. And she had instigated a STEM mentor programme as such that has been running for the past few months that I'm part of, and that entails a lot of CPD opportunities and other initiatives that I can drive forward in the school. Prior to joining the STEM mentor programme, it was my role to instigate and plan a lot of whole school events, whole school homework tasks, STEM challenges and such, and also transition projects. So I was involved in organising one with very loosely, I don't want to take too much credit for it, but very loosely organising an astrobiology themed transition project within our secondary, which is Clydebank High School, which actually started running this afternoon. And what I was a wee bit more instrumental in was a transition project for the early years. We're very lucky we have a nursery on site, so we're able to work quite directly with them in a very collegiate way. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So as part of the STEM Mentor programme, I attended a CPD programme called the Novel Approach to STEM that was led by Hannah Weather, that used to be on the news. And she went into detail about how to try and use literacy a wee bit more in the STEM subjects and to try and use STEM to raise attainment in the STEM context. So these are some of the examples that she used. Roald Dahl, very accessible for all children, a lot of people and adults as well and parents would know about them. And as some of the activities that they were showcasing were so easy to do, the resources were easy to find, and the examples that they had shown was that the children were really, really engaged with it. So I had thought, oh, I would love to try and do this with the younger children. We were about to be in the process of planning a transition theme, but we weren't quite sure what it was going to be yet. So I had suggested, well, why don't we try and use literacy in this same way? So I came up with the headline Storybook STEM, and then Googled it and realised it was already a thing that was copyrighted. But I'm going for it anyway. So it wasn't initially my idea, the title that is. However, I went with it because some of the examples that were given as part of that publication that was already out there weren't quite suitable, so we adapted it quite easily. So it was between our preschoolers and primary one. A great deal of collegiate planning was involved, as you can imagine. I'm in primary 5 this year, but for the last 2 years I was in primary 1, and prior to that I had been in primary 2 with the year of primary 7 thrown in for whatever reason. And so I decided to try and use my 5s within that as well, but also take into account the experience that I have with play, and play is the context for learning as part of this too. So my primary 5s we set the challenge to come up with questions that would extend learning. So we had quite a few days working on that and what good questioning is, talking about Bloom's taxonomy, various higher order thinking skills, to try and underpin the activities that we were going to be doing. So we had a pilot session, which, as you can imagine, brought up a lot of issues that we had to address in terms of organisation and how to go forward. Questioning from an adult perspective, so we had to be there to support primary 5s as well as the younger ones in whatever it was they were doing, and we tried to make sure it was underpinned by, that's just some of the principles of the curriculum there. So these are the contexts that we came up with. We thought these were all things that the kids were very, very engaged with. We knew that they were familiar with the stories and we knew that they enjoyed them already, so we decided to go with these as the basis for what we were going to do. And this is the general structure. So it was a 6-week programme, and we decided to take one text over 2 weeks, over the fortnight, so we could spread it out a bit. With the volume of children that we had, we knew we had to have quite a few activities on the go in order for them not to be too crowded, but also to have a decent collaborative aspect to them. So I think it was 5 activities per session, with about 6 children in each. It was a mix of the 2 primary 1 classes that we have and the preschoolers. So each session was 45 minutes. Following the pilot, we realised we had to colour code the groups, because when they didn't have some kind of organisation, it was a bit of a disaster. The P5s were on hand to lead the activities following some training and ask the questions that they had to come up with. We began by reading the story, discussing the story as you would in any shared reading lesson, and then the children broke off to do the first 2 of the activities, and then the following week we'd have a brief recap of the story and then complete the following 3 activities. That's a little overview of the way that we structured it. So the children's names down the side are, normally we would try and get 3 primary 1s and 2 nursery children. Sometimes we had to have 6, just depending on numbers. This particular one was from Jackie and Beanstalk, so the theme was very much about plant life. Frozen was about states of water, and the 3 Little Pigs was mainly about construction, so it was very much a technology focus. Frozen was very scientific, and as was Jackie and Beanstalk. However, we did try to have quite a heavy focus on literacy and on the maths and the numeracy side of things. So all of the activities had opportunities for them to explore those in addition to the kind of core side. And here are some photographs of the children engaging. So this one top left here is reading the story initially. So we had it on the smart board just so everyone could see, so you don't have normal, I can't see. which worked quite well. In the yellow there, that's an example of questions from the Three Little Pigs that the 5s had written. Quite a bit of time went on encouraging them to be open-ended questions, not to be too closed, and then to respond to younger ones' answers in a way that would continue the learning conversation. And then I think the next couple of slides are just a continuation of some photographs of them engaging. That's a mixture. And thank you very much.
So thank you very much. That kind of rounds us down.
I definitely not missed anyone. I was really sure.
Any impromptu? We've got 2 minutes. No, we'll take it. So yeah, thank you very much for coming along. We hope to have something like this again in the future, and make sure you follow up on any connection you made tonight. And a lot of people are starting to use the STEM Glasgow hashtag as well. A lot of people are showing really, really good practice using it, so please make sure to check out that too.
I hope you enjoyed it. Most of all, actually, I can see if you didn't tell us.
I'm like, going to do some work.
Pretend that everyone really, really loved it. There are some snacks and things left. So
carrots.
Getting carrots and cucumber. So the drink has been taken away, but you can go and help yourself to some snacks and cucumber.
Yeah. If you are in a Glasgow school, or you know someone that's in a Glasgow primary school, we have just put out the advert today. Maureen McKenna sent it out this afternoon. We're looking for the next cohort of primary STEM leaders. We were lucky enough that we had 4 along here tonight, so 4 presenters were our STEM leaders this year. It is a voluntarily thing. It's not a secondment or anything like that, but you do get a number of twilights throughout the year, 2 field days out, and support through the year to do a variety of stuff. And these guys will also support you. I'm saying that like they're sitting in the front rows. That's why I like these guys. So yeah, if you know anybody that'd be interested in that and put forward, we're looking for applications and stuff. We don't need an application. It's just like almost like a expression of interest type thing, by the Friday the 22nd of June. But all head teachers have that email.
Most of the CPDs run by like Alex, myself, and Mark, and we think we're fantastic. So that's like another reason why you should sign up. It's all really good. I'm just saying it is. There you go. So
we do have really site partners as well.
Yeah, but thanks again for coming along. I realise it's a really nice night, so if you would like to go just now, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to hang about and chat to other people and network a wee bit, that's also okay. We've got the room until 6:30.
Yep. Any questions?
Any questions?
So don't forget, if you haven't had a look, there's the 3D printer back there, and it's got a special STEM TeachMeet 3D printing model.
Even better. Theme. We like a theme. We like a theme.
Yeah, but thanks again.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Cheers.